Welcome back to this edition of Knowledge Gumbo Conversations. Um, it's been a struggle this week, so grant me a little grace today. So, what we're looking at here is let's just jump off and get started. Okay, as we start every week, a reminder for both you and for me: you are loved, you are smart, you are important, you are needed, you are necessary. There are holes in this world and in people's lives that only you can fill. I'm falling back a little bit today because for most of this week I've been dealing with a sinus cold. I've had congestion all on this side of my face, sinus headache in this temple behind this eye. Um, it's been a struggle. So I don't have the topic for today to talk about. I just been struggling with it, struggling with this sinus cold. I'm glad it's almost gone, but I still have quite a bit of mucus that's creating pressure. But we're gonna struggle through. So, like I said, I didn't have a particular topic for the first part of it, although this week, as you know, the theme for the month overall is sports. And the focus for this particular week has been on coaching, coaches, trainers, and the like, and how those types of leaderships affect athletes and who have become great coaches. And as a, how you say, headliner coming for the newsletter on Friday, we'll be talking about University of South Carolina's head coach, Dawn Staley. But coaching is just as important as the athlete themselves. And I think it's a give and take. Because everyone wants to say one is more important than the other. But what is a good coach without the right athlete? And what is the right athlete? What is a great athlete without the right coach? I think it's a symbiotic relationship that they have with one another. And when you have the right relationship, great things happen. And the coach has to be the right kind of person who is a taskmaster, who is organized and focused, who knows the sport inside and out, who knows the rules inside and out. But I think they need the athlete that has not only the talent, because we all know that hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. So you need an athlete with talent and the right work ethic and discipline, who is willing to be coachable. To me, that's the key with a lot of athletes today coming off as spoiled is they won't allow themselves to be coached. They take the attitude that they're better than their coach. And sometimes for coaches, I think the key is not only knowing your sport, being dedicated to it, but it's also the ability to adjust over time, to be able to adjust to the athletes on your team, to make your system work no matter what type of athlete that you have, to be malleable, to be able to be flexible. And I think that's where a lot of coaches get in trouble. It's like, I'm going to do it this way. I don't care what athletes I have. They're going to fit my mold. And those people tend to end up without a job. Or if they still have a job, then the best athletes end up not wanting to go there. Because at a certain point, my way or the highway, it gets a little old. And so, like I said, this sinuses are killing me right now. So, oh no, we're not gonna speak that into existence. The sinuses are bothering me still, but they're mostly gone. But this is probably gonna be a little short conversation tonight, so I can hop into bed and get some more rest. So let's transition to, it's time for Speak Your Piece or Save Your Piece. It's the section where I give you a situation and we decide together, is this something you speak on or is it something you release to protect your peace? Let me know in the comments. Let's keep that conversation going even after this live stream is done. Someone calls your boundaries selfish. Do you speak your piece or, just let it go? For me, I would probably speak on it from the standpoint of, when they say boundaries are selfish, I ask them their definition of selfish. Because that would determine for me whether I speak on it or whether I should save my peace. Because in theory, boundaries are selfish. Not in theory. In reality, boundaries are selfish because boundaries are guides that guide my behavior. It's something that I've decided that I'm going to use to guide my behavior. So, in that sense, it is selfish. It's how I'm holding myself accountable. It's what I'm committing to doing or not doing. So, in reality, boundaries are selfish. But if they're saying it in a way that they want something and I'm telling them that's not who I am or what I do, when they're saying I'm selfish, they have it all wrong. Because that's a rule. A rule is when you're trying to control someone else or control a situation. And that's totally different from a boundary. So I would have to understand what they mean by the word selfish, of whether or not I would speak on it even further, or I just figured they're an idiot and just keep my peace. Because as it's also known, is that when you argue with an idiot, someone from the outside doesn't know which person is the idiot. So, like I said, I would ask them their definition of selfish, and that would determine whether or not I would speak on it or I would save my peace. And as we transition into the final section of this conversation, something I recently learned. January is National Soup and Slow Cooker Month. Go figure. And I thought that was cool considering this live stream is called Knowledge Gumbo Conversations. And so it made me look into the origin of gumbo. And one of the reasons why I called everything I'm doing has the word gumbo in it is because I wanted to bring a mixture of different types of stories of different types of Black women and share their stories, whether it's someone as great as Kamala Harris, who ran for president, to someone like Osceola McCarty, who was a washerwoman that at the end of her life was able to establish, saving her money as a washerwoman, was able to establish a scholarship fund, which still goes today. So it's a mixed mash of all that, is why I called it gumbo. So, but when you look up the origin of it, it doesn't have a single origin. And that's the key, I think, just to the word gumbo. Because it's complex, it's layered, and it's rooted actually in several cultures mixed together from West Africa, France, Spain, and Native Americans who were all in that Louisiana area. So oh, that's kind of where it all comes from. And one good tip, uh, if you ever go to New Orleans, let me put this one piece of advice before that. Whenever you go to New Orleans, go on a diet a month or two before because you're going to eat your way through New Orleans, and that way you just put back on the weight you took off. No harm, no foul. You haven't added any extra weight. But if you're interested in learning how to make gumbo and other dishes that are native to Louisiana, check out the New Orleans School of Cooking. I went there and took a class, and it was amazing, and it was a good time. But make sure you bring an extra bag in your luggage, because in their cooking shop, their store, because the store is on the bottom and the classes are above, you end up coming home with a lot of different spices, a lot of different rubs. I try to stay away from bringing any extra, kitchen gadgets and utensils and stuff like that, but it was very hard. So, let me see. Hey, Gretchen. Um, let's circle right back for a quick second. Origin of selfish. The word selfish emerged in the 1630s, combining the English word self, the Germanic roots meaning one's own person, with the suffix ish, meaning having the character of. Interesting. I think one thing I don't necessarily like about our English language is how different words get hijacked. So I think that's really interesting. But usually selfish has a negative connotation. So that's why I say you have to ask the person, what is your definition of selfish, or how are they using that statement? Are they using that statement to condemn you? or are they just making a statement of fact? Because, like I said, in essence, boundaries are selfish. It's something I'm holding myself to, holding myself accountable to. And it may not make sense to anyone else. It may be overkill for some people. Like, for instance, uh, one boundary, when I was working in corporate America, one boundary that I had was that I did not travel with married men. Like, if we were all going to a meeting or going to a plant and it was just me and another guy, and it wasn't like a group of us going, and he was married, I would rent my own car, even if it had to come out of my pocket, even if my boss wasn't going to pay for it. And people say that's overkill, but no one, whether it's the single person or the married person, or can you just say, because sometimes it's two married people, nobody goes into it saying, I'm going to go cheat on my spouse today. No, it starts off small in confined spaces, sharing information that you wouldn't necessarily share with someone. Now, if I'm friends with the wife as well, I may or may not let that slide depending on how well I know the wife and how well she knows me. But even then, sometimes I would still make that pivot and like drive myself, never have a meeting in my hotel room. We'll always meet in the lobby or, grab a conference room at the hotel. I would never go to his room or anything because I don't even want the appearance of anything going on. I don't, and I know that's too far of a boundary for a lot of people, but it made me feel comfortable. It made me feel safe. I didn't ever want to have the appearance of doing wrongdoing with someone who was married. And it didn't matter to me how old the person was. They just had to be married. And I didn't want any part of any of that because all it takes is, especially with when I was working on different launches, you're constantly going back and forth from our home base, which was in Michigan, to whatever plant, depending on what vehicle you were working on, where they are. For months at a time, you're traveling back and forth with the same person or the same group of people. And if you allow yourself, you can get a little too comfortable and it starts down a slippery slope. So for me, that was a boundary. And it is a personal thing. Like I said, it was selfish for me. So that's why I think boundaries are selfish, but when they're talking about it in a negative connotation, they just want me to agree with how they live their lives. And they're trying to create a rule for my life, which violates my boundary. So thanks for that definition, Gretchen. But I think this is all I have time for. I feel the pressure returning. I'm gonna pop some headache medication and or try to sleep without it, and if not, then I'll take some and get some rest. But that's it for this week's Knowledge Gumbo Conversations. I'd love to hear what resonated with you, so type it in the comments. If you're watching on the replay, drop a comment that says hashtag replay gang so I know who's coming afterwards. If you haven't already, join us in our family of the Gumbo Knowledge Gumbo newsletter by subscribing. It's where we get together and I break down the story of one amazing woman per week, including some things right now on how to start documenting your own stories because it is very important. So if you are a part of the community, thank you. If you're going to join, I'll thank you in advance, and I'll see y'all in the inbox on Friday morning. Let's keep this conversation going. And as previously stated, I thank you for your time. That is a gift that has no return policy, so I am forever grateful. So, see you next week.
Beat drops heavy, heartbeat steady, ready.
Check the mirror, see a queen in the reflection. No doubt, full steam, no signs of deflection.